This event, The Art of Her, please let's not forget the tagline, the beauty of South Central. This started and continues as an effort to showcase and make visible women's industry, women's creative energy, and women's productive capacities. And every time I talk about the event that is coming up, people say, and there's a lot of excitement, it seems, at the national level. And so it seems that we will have to make this an annual event, so this is the inaugural. But whenever I talk about the event, people ask, well, where did this come from and why, and what is the reason for this? And the truth is that, for a long time, I have done quite a bit of work supporting women's industry. And one of the stories that we often hear is that in Barbados, women are doing fine. You have, the first president was a woman, you have a woman, an outstanding woman prime minister, women lead on boards, women lead in the private sector, and all of this is true. Barbados has certainly been a leader in terms of women's empowerment and, quite frankly, the kind of legislation and the kind of policy that advances women's economic power and strength. All of these things are true. However, I think that often we have the notion that the women are going to be all right. The girls are going to be all right. And that's because often we are. We have to. We hold up families, we hold up communities, and we don't have the option to not show up. And so a lot of the strength that you continue to see from women in community and in family is because we have to show up. That does not mean that women's efforts do not require our support. If you look around Barbados now, you will see that the construction sector is booming. You will see that the economy is heating up. So much so that as we look at economic growth across the country and what's driving it, apart from tourism, there is even the notion about whether we can contain the growth. I talk all the time about growing pains, about the fact that the country is growing in the construction sector and related industries so much that we are running to catch up to make sure we have the infrastructure, to make sure that we have all of the services that are required to meet this growth. That kind of growth in those kinds of industries and sectors tends to create employment, principally in the construction period, for men. And that's great. We want men's employment to grow. But often we rely on this notion of the male breadwinner. Often we feel that if men are working, that families will grow. One of the things we know for sure from research is that resources in the hands of women tend to go farther, tend to be spent on women, on children's health and education, and the kinds of social investments that matter. And so we need to make sure that women's industry and women's productive capacities are always supported. And so when I look around St. Michael South Central, I see where the men are. I see that we do a lot of work to support men's sport. We do a lot of work to support men's industry. But there came a moment where I thought we need to do a bit more to support women's creative energy. And many of the women in St. Michael South Central and across St. Michael and across Barbados are creative geniuses when it comes to makeup and hair and nail artistry. And it is a growing sector. I remember in the middle of COVID, when we were doing a gradual reopening, and we were working with the Prime Minister and the rest of the Cabinet to think through the sectors that needed to be opened one by one. And I kept saying to my colleagues, we need to open up the beauty shops because nobody is going anywhere unless their hair done, unless their makeup done, unless their nails done.
Hallelujah.
It is a sector that drives, a lot of other industries. And when I think about the opportunities that this sector creates, when I think about the potential to create new employment and to help people manage some of their economic commitments, it is not just about the shows or the parties or the various things that people are getting ready to go to or to participate in, but it's also things like film and culture and entertainment. Barbados is now planning to invest more in its film industry, both domestic film efforts as well as encouraging film companies to come and film here. Now that means that the makeup artists who work on very theatrical makeup, who have spent time in their art to learn how to create different looks, how to create different characters through their work, that is an opportunity for them. You know, anybody who's worked in theater or on the stage knows how much goes on behind the scenes and how much that itself is an industry for people to get involved in. When I think of the way that we used to jump for Kadooment, it is still a very cosmetic heavy kind of effort. Still people get their makeup done, people get their lashes done, people get their hair done. But I remember the kind of traditional masquerade where people will have very elaborate costumes, and what you were doing on the road, the king and queen of the band and these things, you were creating a character. Somebody who looks nothing like me or Shelley or Alex or Charmaine, but you are essentially transporting people. You're telling a story through makeup, through hair, and through nails and other aspects of the beauty industry. So this is a movement. This work that we're supporting provides economic opportunity, it provides creative outlets for people, and it puts South Central, St. Michael, and Barbados on the stage and on the map in terms of what we are capable of. The others, when they speak to you today, will say a bit about what the competition involves, but I want to mention in particular, which they will probably also repeat, what some of the prizes are. So we have 4 categories: natural and processed hair, those are 2 categories, makeup, and nails. But the prizes that Number One Beauty Supply is supporting us with are really about investing in these businesses that already exist. By the time you've won or come second or third in one of these categories, you'll be well on the way to having a new shop or a redeveloped shop or spa. We really wanted to make sure, and I really thank Number One Beauty Supply, Charmaine and the team, for investment in people. And you know, I'll tell you one thing about Number One Beauty Supply. We were there recently, interacting with some of the young people, and the work that they're doing is not just in selling beauty products. It is in mentoring young women in the industry. It is in giving them creative outlets for this work. You know, some of us are quieter than others in the work that we do, but it bears repeating, it bears being said, how some of our companies are really investing in young people. The final thing I'll say up here this afternoon is that the question of identity through how we present ourselves is one that has always been important to me. People will know my afro, which is also very important to me. And the reason that I feel it is a part of who I am is that my hair helps me feel connected to my heritage. It reinforces the Caribbeanness in me. It reinforces the Africanness in me. And I feel that it also tells the story that you can be who you are and be beautiful. That's one of the reasons it was important for us to have a natural hair category. You know, I grew up in an era where people felt that if you didn't have a hairdo in the traditional way, that you couldn't be going anywhere or you weren't in anything. I remember, I hope she doesn't see this, but I have an aunt who, when I first decided to stop processing my hair and just keep it natural and wear my twist out, wear my braids, she saw me at my dad's house one day and she said, "What are you doing with your hair? You're just wearing it hard." And I thought, yes, because this is how it grows from my head. You know, and I think that this competition is also about embracing all of the ways in which women, in which people show up, and what is it that matters as our identity. So I am so excited about this. I have to thank Alex, who's our MC this evening, Shelly Williams, who likes to be the lady behind the curtain, but calling her name up here, Charmaine Carter and the team, number one Vision Supply. Our team, Ashley Lashley, who you'll hear from, Aisha Marshall, Tyreek Wilson, Alan Farmer, Carrie Ann Boxell. Those are all people who are much younger than I am. Those last group that I just mentioned. And that's one of the other reasons why I do this work. Because, you know, they are really driving a lot of the ethos of what we're doing. They understand what young people need, and they never let me forget why we are doing this work. And so I want to thank them as well for their investment in this work that we do. And so I hope that you will all participate in the event on the 13th of June, that you will encourage your friends and colleagues who are in this space to enter, to come and see what we have to showcase, and that you will continue to invest in and commit to women's economic empowerment and women's productive capacities in this country.